A powerful general was running for his life. The battlefield was lost. His army scattered. His enemies closing in. This man was Sisera, commander of a mighty army. For years, he had ruled through fear. Cities trembled at his name. No one dared stand against him. But today, everything had changed. Now he wasn't leading soldiers. He was running, alone, breathing hard, covered in dust, desperate to escape death. Then he saw it. A quiet tent in the distance. A place of safety. And standing at the entrance was a woman. Her name was Jael. She stepped forward calmly, as if nothing was wrong. No fear. No panic. "Come in," she said gently. "Don't be afraid." For a moment, Sisera hesitated. But he had no choice. He stepped inside. Jael covered him with a blanket. She gave him milk to drink. She spoke softly, reassuring him. Outside, the world was chaos. Inside the tent, it was quiet. Safe. Or so he thought. Exhausted, the mighty general closed his eyes and fell into a deep sleep. The man who once commanded thousands now lay helpless on the ground. And the woman who welcomed him? She stood silently beside him, watching, thinking, deciding. Then slowly, very slowly, Jael reached for something beside her. A hammer and a tent peg. The air grew still. This was no longer a moment of kindness. This was a moment that would change everything. Because in just a few seconds, the most unexpected person was about to end the life of the most feared man. And no one saw it coming. Fire. For years, the land of Israel lived in fear. At the center of that fear was one man, Sisera. He was not a king, but he held more power than most kings ever could. As the commander of a massive army under King Jabin, Sisera controlled the land with brutal force. His greatest weapon? 900 iron chariots. Not just vehicles, but machines of war. Fast, loud, unstoppable. Whenever they rolled into battle, the ground itself seemed to shake. Villages were crushed. People were silenced. Hope slowly disappeared. For 20 long years, no one dared to rise against him. Until one day, a voice broke the silence. Not from a warrior, not from a king, but from a woman. Her name was Deborah. She was a prophet and a judge, respected, wise, and fearless. And one day, she delivered a message that would change everything. God had spoken. It was time to fight back. Deborah called a man named Barak and gave him a command. Gather 10,000 men and go to battle. But Barak hesitated. Facing Sisera meant facing those iron chariots. It meant certain death. So he gave a condition. "I will go," he said, "but only if you go with me." Deborah agreed. But then she said something strange. "The honor of this victory will not be yours, for the Lord will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman." At the time, no one understood what she meant. A woman? On the battlefield? Impossible. So the army of Israel marched forward. And soon, they faced Sisera. The sky darkened. Thunder rolled. Rain began to fall. The battlefield turned into mud. And suddenly, those unstoppable iron chariots became useless. They sank. They stalled. They failed. Panic spread through Sisera's army. For the first time, they were vulnerable. Israel attacked. Chaos erupted. And in the middle of it all, the mighty commander Sisera made a decision. He ran, not with his army, not with honor, but alone, fleeing for his life. He didn't know it yet, but every step he took was leading him closer to the tent of Jael. Fire. The battlefield was far behind him now, the noise of war fading into the distance. All that remained was silence and fear. Sisera kept running. His armor was heavy, his breath uneven, his strength nearly gone. For the first time in years, the man who terrified nations was completely alone. No soldiers, no chariots, no power, just a fugitive trying to survive. Then, through the dust and exhaustion, he saw something. A tent. Simple, quiet, isolated. It belonged to the household of Jael. And to Sisera, that meant one thing: safety. Because there was peace between his king, Jabin, and the family of Jael. No threat, no danger. Or so he believed. As he approached, Jael stepped out to meet him. Her face was calm, her voice gentle. "Come in, my lord," she said. "Don't be afraid." Those words were exactly what he needed to hear. Sisera didn't question it. He didn't hesitate. He walked inside. The tent was dim, quiet, almost peaceful. Jael quickly covered him with a blanket, hiding him from anyone who might pass by. "I'm thirsty," Sisera said weakly. Please, give me some water. But Jael did something unexpected. Instead of water, she gave him milk. Warm, soothing, calming. It slowed his body, relaxed his mind, made his exhaustion even heavier. Stand at the entrance, Sisera told her. If anyone comes and asks if someone is here, say no. Jael nodded. Quietly. Obediently. Or at least, that's what it seemed. Moments passed. Then minutes. The mighty commander lay down. His breathing slowed. His body relaxed. And soon, Sisera fell into a deep, helpless sleep, completely unaware that the woman he trusted was not on his side. Inside the quiet tent, everything changed. The air felt heavier. Still, focused. Jael stood there watching him, not afraid, not confused, but resolved. This was not a random moment. This was the moment spoken of before. The Lord will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman. Slowly, carefully, Jael reached down beside her. Her fingers wrapped around something cold and solid. A hammer. Then, a tent peg. She moved without a sound. Step by step. Closer. Closer. The powerful general who once ruled with fear now lay completely defenseless, and the woman standing over him was about to make a decision that would end a war. Fire. Inside the tent, silence. No wind. No voices. No movement. Only the slow, steady breathing of Sisera. The mighty commander, asleep, completely unaware. Standing above him was Jael. In one hand, a hammer. In the other, a tent peg. Her face was calm. But this was not an easy moment. This was not rage. Not panic. Not revenge. This was a decision. A choice that would echo far beyond this quiet tent. For years, Sisera had crushed nations, destroyed lives, ruled through fear. Now, everything had come down to this one moment. Jael took a slow breath. Then she stepped closer, carefully, silently, every movement controlled. She knelt beside him. The tent peg hovered just above its place. For a brief second, time seemed to stop. This was the turning point. The moment prophecy would become reality. Then, with one decisive action, Jael struck. It was fast, precise, final. The man who once commanded armies, the man who terrorized nations, was gone, just like that. No battle, no army, no glory, only silence. Jael didn't scream, didn't run. She stood there steady, certain. Outside, the war was already ending. But inside this tent, victory had just been sealed. Moments later, footsteps approached. It was Barak, still chasing the fleeing commander, still searching, still thinking the battle wasn't over. Jael stepped out to meet him, her voice calm. Come, she said. I will show you the man you are looking for. Barak followed her inside, and there he saw it. The feared commander Sisera, lying still on the ground. Defeated, not by an army, not by a king, but by a woman, in a quiet tent, far from the battlefield. In that moment, the words spoken earlier became clear. The Lord will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman. And he did, but not in the way anyone expected. Fire. For a moment, Barak just stood there, frozen. The man he had been chasing across the battlefield. The commander of a terrifying army. The symbol of 20 years of oppression. Was gone. And the one who ended it all was Jael. Not a soldier. Not a warrior. Just a woman in a quiet tent. The prophecy had come true. Not through strength. Not through numbers. But through an unexpected act of courage. Barak stepped back, still trying to process what he was seeing. The war was over. Outside, word began to spread. From soldier to soldier. From village to village. Sisera was dead. The invincible commander defeated. Without their leader, the army of King Jabin began to collapse. Fear replaced control. Strength turned into confusion. What once looked unstoppable now fell apart. And Israel did not stop there. They pressed forward, victory after victory, until the power of King Jabin was completely broken. 20 years of oppression ended, not with one battle alone, but with a moment no one saw coming. And behind it all stood the quiet courage of one woman. But the story didn't end on the battlefield, because soon, a song would rise across the land, a song that would remember this moment forever, a song led by Deborah, a song that would turn this victory into a legend. Fire. The battle was over. The fear that had ruled the land for 20 years was gone. No more iron chariots. No more oppression. No more shadow of Sisera. Across Israel, something began to rise. Not fear. Not war. But a song. Led by Deborah, the prophet and judge, and Barak, the commander, the people lifted their voices in celebration. This was not just victory. This was deliverance. They sang of the day the earth trembled, when the skies poured rain, when the mighty chariots failed in the mud. They sang of courage, of those who stepped forward when others stayed back. And then, they sang about her. Jael, not a queen, not a warrior, but a woman who changed history. Most blessed of women be Jael, the song declared. She was remembered not for her strength, but for her boldness, for acting when the moment came, for doing what no one expected. Then the song painted a powerful image. Far away from the battlefield, in a quiet house, someone was waiting. The mother of Sisera. She stood at the window, looking out, waiting for the sound of chariots, waiting for her son to return in victory. Why is his chariot so long in coming? She wondered. Her attendants tried to comfort her. Surely he is delayed, dividing the spoils of war. But the truth was far different. The mighty warrior she waited for would never return. The song didn't hide this moment. It showed the full weight of victory, not just triumph, but the cost of war. And then, the song ended with a powerful declaration. So may all your enemies perish, but may those who love you shine like the sun. And just like that, the story was no longer just a battle. It became a legacy, a reminder that power does not always come from strength. Sometimes, it comes from courage in the quietest places. Fire. For 40 years, the land was at peace. No more war, no more fear, no more shadow of oppression. What once seemed impossible had become reality. The fall of a powerful enemy, the rise of a free nation, and at the center of it all, not a king, not an army, but a story no one expected. The story of Jael, a woman in a tent, a quiet moment, a decision that changed everything. No one would have chosen her as the hero. No one would have imagined that the feared commander Sisera would meet his end not on a battlefield, but in silence. And yet, that is exactly how it happened. Because this story was never just about power. It was about timing, about courage, about stepping forward when the moment comes, even if you're the last person anyone expects. Far before the battle began, Deborah had spoken the words, "The Lord will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman." At the time, it didn't make sense. But in the end, it was fulfilled perfectly, not through strength, not through status, but through bold action, through someone willing to act when it mattered most. And that's what makes this story unforgettable, because it reminds us, history is not always changed by the strongest people. Sometimes, it's changed by the most unexpected ones, the ones no one is watching, the ones no one believes in, the ones who simply choose to act. And when they do, everything changes. This is not just a story about war. It's a story about courage in the shadows, about purpose in unexpected places, about a moment that turned fear into victory, and a name that would never be forgotten. Jael, fire.